Schlossberg, Managing Director at BK Asset Management.
BK Asset Management's Kathy Lien.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy. If you can hear my voice, see my screen, say hello, good morning. Let me know you're here by giving me a thumbs up and let me know that everything is working. I'm just going to move this here so I make sure I'm centered into the screen. Yes, good morning. Give me a thumbs up if you're here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Good morning, Aitor from Spain. Welcome. Good morning, Christian, Christopher, Dennis, CG Tan, Velkar. Good morning, everyone. Hello. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, all of you, for joining us, including Martin, our loyal attendee and fan from the UK, Dennis from Pittsburgh, Santiago from Miami. Good morning, everyone. I love it. It's not morning for everyone, right? For many of you that are tuning in from Europe, it's probably the middle of your day, which is for better or worse. You know, we haven't seen much action in the markets in the last 12 hours or so. It's been very, very quiet, and we're going to talk about all of that. And Kayo from the Philippines, wonderful. We have such a diverse crowd with us this morning. Okay, so before I want to begin, I always like to get a sense of what all of you are trading. Are you trading indices? Are you trading gold? Are you trading Forex? Because we want to make sure that we cover all of this. My hair is kind of messy today. Cover all of this morning. So dollar index, we'll absolutely talk about the dollar index. The dollar index has been very, very weak. As you may or may not know, depending upon whether you trade Forex, but even if you don't trade Forex, the dollar index has a huge impact on how everything else is moving. And what you may or may not know, that the dollar index is, or last week, had dropped to its lowest level since April. And for the most part, this is a chart of the dollar index, my friends. If we go to the weekly chart, the dollar index is hovering at its lowest level since 2022. Not quite the lowest level, because we saw that in April, but for the most part, we're definitely at the lower right-hand corner of the chart as opposed to the upper right-hand corner or in the middle. So the dollar is weak, and the weakness of the dollar affects a lot of things that everyone trades. It affects gold. It affects obviously currencies. In some ways, it also affects equities. Gold, unlike the dollar index, no surprise to all of you, is pretty much the opposite, right? It's the upper right-hand corner of the chart compared to the lower right-hand corner of the chart. And, there's a good reason for that, because if we remove this and we add in the dollar index, and then we just move this to the left-hand side, you will see, pretty much, opposite of each other. When the dollar index falls, gold tends to perform well. It's not always 100% of the time, of course, but it is very difficult for gold to rally when the dollar is strong. And it's very difficult for gold to continue to rise when the dollar is rebounding. So if we look at the daily chart today, at least recently, we had just talked about how gold last week hit a fresh low since April, so like a 2-month low. But then it kind of stabilized, right? It kind of stabilized down here. And this stabilization is part of the reason why gold is rolling over. So many of you are telling me, like Dennis and Kayo, and actually all of you are telling me for the most part that you trade gold. So one of the most important things to know about trading gold is the fact that you've got to keep an eye on the dollar. You got to see how the dollar is moving. And in many ways, I would argue that last week was important too. I guess this week it's also what happens with the US dollar is also very, very important. In many ways, what happens to the US dollar is probably the most important driver of market flows this week. But a lot goes into that, right? Because the main focus is certainly US centric events. Now, the outcome of the events, part of it is economic, part of it is political. Last week, we had the U.S. non-farm payrolls report, and if we kind of take away the indicator, we just go to the dollar, and we'll just look at dollar yen. On Friday, this was last week. Last week, before that, we had a sell-off in the dollar. Towards the end of last week, we had a rebound. What's drove the rebound? The rebound was driven by the most important piece of data we had last week, which was non-farm payrolls. And non-farm payrolls really wasn't all that terrible. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but people were bracing for the worst. They were bracing for the worst because of the weak ADP. Now, you may know that there was room to the upside, because if you are a member of our BK Traders community, or you follow me on X, I talked about how on Friday, seems so long ago now. Where is this? I said, don't be surprised if we can't rule out a beat for the jobs report. And I outlined all the reasons why you can't rule out a beat. And guess what? We basically had a beat in the jobs report. Now, it's not as if I'm smarter than everyone else.
Actually, Kay, I gave you full credit on it on Friday. I talked about that quite a lot, about how you totally predicted that, and it was really helpful for us in our trade.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, It's not like I'm smarter than everyone else. It's just I do my homework, and I show you how I do my homework. I outline, as you can see, the employment component of ISM services rose, JOLTS rose, more job openings, and employment component manufacturing, consumer confidence, yada, yada, yada. Basically, the data beat. And if you either followed us in our community or traded live with Boris on Friday, you were prepared for it, even though everyone else wasn't. So now, that's in hindsight, right? What are we looking ahead? What are we looking ahead for this week? Well, what we're looking ahead for this week is two things. Number one, the U.S. inflation report, which is the most important piece of data from the U.S. The U.S. inflation report is equal in many ways to the non-farm payrolls report, because the Fed has, because the Fed has two mandates: inflation and jobs and full employment. And so we know that, from their general perspective, they don't think the labor market is doing that poorly. And the latest reports confirm that the labor market isn't doing that poorly. But inflation is where we, is kind of uncertain, where where if it's inflation remains sticky and refuses to fall, then the Fed will be reluctant to cut interest rates. If inflation is starting to fall, then the Fed will be more reluctant, more willing to cut interest rates. And that's why the inflation report that we have on, I believe, Wednesday is so important. And you can see from the forecasts that for the most part, the market expects dollar positive numbers. On a monthly basis, they expect inflation growth to remain same, 0.2%. So they do not expect it to slow. On a core basis, they expect core inflation growth to rise. And on a year-over-year basis, they also expect inflation to rise. So the market is expecting a dollar positive number this week. Fal Q, you said, Kathy, please be more active on YouTube. We love your analysis every day. I post video updates every single day in our community. Boris, if you don't mind dropping in the link to our free trading community, join it every day, sometimes more than once a day. If we've got a big release, I will post a video. So make sure you join it. It's completely free. YouTube only allows a minute or like much longer. And sometimes I don't want my videos, my vertical videos, to be put in to be batched in with the other ones, and they're too long for the shorts. But everything is posted in our community, so please join it. All right, but back to the data. The market is expecting dollar positive numbers. So I'm building a bit of a narrative for you here, where we talked about how the dollar index had been very weak. The dollar index had been very weak in this whole downtrend, even hit a 2-month low last week. Is there a possibility for a dollar bounce this week? Well, from a data perspective, last week we had, not terrible non-farm payrolls. From a data perspective, the market is looking for the inflation report to be stronger. So there's a possibility of dollar bullishness this week. Even look at the dollar index. You can see this candle here. It's far too soon to tell, but if we close like this, it's more of a positive candle than a negative candle because it's holding much closer to the highs than it is the lows. But what's the other thing? So we know that number one, we've got U.S. inflation, but single-handedly, the most important thing is U.S.-China trade talks. That's right. Today, U.S. and Chinese officials are meeting in London for U.S.-China trade talks. So looking at stock futures are up. Stock futures or stocks in general are kind of closer to the upper right-hand corner of the chart than they are to the lower right-hand corner of the chart. So it means that the markets are, semi-optimistic. And they're certainly, optimistic in general or less pessimistic going into the trade talks. And the dollar seems to be up a little bit, right? At least against the index. The dollar is down against all the major currencies, down against the euro, the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen, the Canadian dollar. If you look at my watch list on the right-hand side, all of the major currencies are up against the dollar. But 0.07%, 0.04%, these are basically unchanged. This, you can argue that the dollar's up, you can argue that it's down, but really I think all of us agree that nothing is happening and that the market is just sitting there waiting to see what the outcome of the U.S.-China trade talks is. Now, we have all been through this before, right? We've been teased, we've been appeased, and then we've been have that optimism taken away. Now, one piece of good news is, I don't know if you caught this or not. I'm going to Google it. It's China rare earth metal U.S. auto. Okay. So one of the stories today is this one. This is exclusive by Reuters, came out over the weekend. And basically, the headline is it says China issues rare earth licenses to suppliers of top 3 automakers. Let me unblock this. But I don't want to muck with this right now. Sometimes here, continue without supporting us. All right, maybe this will work. But it doesn't matter. The headline is it. China issues rare earth licenses to suppliers of top 3 U.S. automakers. And then, if you look down here, the first line in the summary says, licenses valid for 6 months, easing supply chain disruptions. This represents progress. This represents kind of like a good faith effort by China to maybe go into the trade talks with a willingness to negotiate. Because obviously this would not happen if they weren't serious to some degree about negotiating a trade deal. Now, remember, look at this, June 6th. Today is June 8th. So this was issued on Saturday. So obviously before the trade talks today. So this is, and this is really the sticking point. This whole rare earth license thing, China extends an olive branch to Western auto giants, is really one of the things that the U.S. wants from China. So, and this is the thing that China controls the most power on. So the fact that they're issuing this rare earth license temporarily, which can be taken away at any point in time, even though it's a 6-month temporary license, to the suppliers of the top 3 U.S. automakers, I think is a reflection of China's willingness to come into this negotiation seriously. And that may be part of the reason why stock futures are up, maybe part of the reason why the dollar is up. Remember, and I want you really, really, really to remember, because I said this last week, and I think it's really important to remember this week. Amidst all these tariff headlines, when we have tariff relief headlines. The reaction we've been seeing in the markets is dollar positive. When we have tariff, continuation, escalation headlines, it is negative for dollar. Now, to some people, this may be counterintuitive, okay, tariffs means the US is making more, right? And people are going to buy less from abroad. They're going to keep their demand domestic. Whether or not that is true in the long run, we know in the short run as traders, the market impact is actually negative. People sell dollars on any headlines related to tariff continuation or tariff escalation. They buy dollars on any headlines related that is relief. So this week is tariff headlines. This week, CPI is important. It is. It always is. I know. Really, will it change to get the Fed off their seats and cut interest rates? Probably not, and regardless of what the number is. And this may not either affect the Fed's immediate decision, but it will certainly affect the market sentiment. So in many ways, hands down, the most important thing on this week's calendar is not going to be the inflation report, but it's going to be the outcome of the U.S. trade talks. So this is what I want you to remember. Tariff headlines, if there's relief, if there seems to be progress, if there seems to be good news, if those 45% or I don't remember the number, but basically double digit tariffs on China stay, then that's probably going to be a bit more dollar positive. If the U.S. says that China is not cooperating and they give us any indication that triple digit tariffs could return, then that's probably going to be negative dollar. And I think that is probably the most important thing for you to be prepared for as you walk into this trading week. Because remember, this is all about learning what to expect, understanding how to prepare, and being ready to trade. Our weekly sessions are called Learn, Prepare to Trade. And this is probably for this week the most important thing that I think you need to keep in the back of your minds, in the front of your minds, which is that tariff headlines relief is dollar positive, tariff continuation is dollar negative, and be ready to act when those headlines come in. So Kayo asks, how can you follow the news? Some of you may, I have the FOREX platform. Some of you may pay for it. Some of you may not. Basically, FOREX Live, you can go on their Twitter feed. You can go on their website. They provide you with the conciseness, the summary of the most important headlines you should know. Financial Juice gives you breaking headlines. So these are the two most valuable, in my opinion, FOREX Live and Financial Juice, both of which you can get free. Or you can pay for X and have a dashboard like this, like I do, which, you don't have to continually refresh, and then just kind of, you can keep it on one screen and see all the headlines come out. Or you can check Financial Juice every so often, or I don't even know how much Financial Juice costs. You could pay for them. They have too much information in many ways, but when we're looking for breaking headlines, it's important. And then FOREX Live is a little slower. They have fewer headlines, but they will always include the most important headlines. So take your pick of which one you want. But this is why I think the dollar could rise this week, because if, China is conciliatory and they actually want to, that they're actually willing to have a trade negotiation, which I don't think really is out of question. I think they want, to quote unquote preserve maybe the double digit tariffs, that we could realistically see the US dollar rally. And then you saw in the expectations for the inflation report, the market expects a stronger US inflation report. So the two combination could legitimately lead to a US dollar rally. And then at the end of the week, we have the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, which could also be stronger, given that, stocks are the upper right-hand corner of the chart. Think about it. If stocks are at the upper right-hand corner of the chart, are you going to feel, as a consumer, more or less optimistic? Type into the box. I'm going to drink my coffee. You let me know whether you think that if you see stocks at the upper right-hand corner of the chart and the jobs numbers aren't so bad, are you going to be more or less optimistic? All right. So, maybe you're just thinking about it, but yes, more, right? So Denise says more. Anybody else? Give me an opportunity to have my coffee. More, Santiago says. And that's why the U-Mitch could be stronger. And so taking a step back, we are walking into a week with the possibility of stronger U.S. data, which is dollar positive. The wild card is, of course, and I can never predict this, but it seems like, everyone is going into the U.S.-China trade talks hoping to make some sort of deal and not make things worse. So also dollar positive. And then lastly, the dollar is deeply oversold. So 3 reasons why we could potentially have a bounce in the dollar this week. And that's why I am dollar bullish. Now, Euro, ECB, they cut interest rates at the last meeting, but they were kind of wishy-washy on whether they were going to cut interest rates again. And so no surprise, Euro actually rose after ECB. And there was a little bit of, obviously non-farm payrolls on Friday drove it down a little bit, but on Thursday we had the ECB. And so this was ECB. This was ECB. So the market did not interpret ECB to be negative for the euro, even though they cut interest rates. But, Eurozone data has been weakening, and I'm dollar bullish. The world is also waiting to see if Russia will respond to Ukraine's attack. And if they do, it's probably going to be negative. It will most certainly be negative euro, because it will be most certainly negative for euro. I'll write this. If Russia responds to Ukraine attack with force, negative euro. Why? Number one, euro is a risk currency. So, whenever there's geopolitical uncertainty, it tends to be bearish for currencies like euro, pound, Aussie, and people seek safety in the dollar. Number two, the proximity of the euro area to the Ukraine is also going to make people more nervous about regional conflict. Number three, seems like, what's the right word? Seems like supporting Ukraine has fallen on the shoulders of the EU. And so they may be willing to spend more money, things like that. It's all seems to be, from a proximity perspective, from a risk perspective, from a political perspective, it all seems to impact euro area more than the US. And euro area probably more than any of the other major currencies that we trade. And that's why the market is waiting for Russia to respond to the Ukraine attack with force. And if that happens, there's certainly quite a bit of downside risk to the euro. So I'm bearish euros. I think that this week we see dollar rally. I think that, we may also see euro weakness. Now, data-wise from the Eurozone, we have really nothing really of any consequence. So really it's going to be US dollar flows, headline risk, and geopolitical risk. For dollar yen, we already talked about this. Dollar yen, it's all going to be about the U.S. tariff headlines and the inflation report, all of which could be firmer. Looks like dollar yen is forming a little bit of a base here. We did have some Japanese data last night. Japanese GDP numbers was revised upwards. EcoWatcher survey was stronger. So we are seeing some better Japanese data, but it doesn't seem to have affected things all that much. Last week, the Bank of Canada left interest rates unchanged. And going back to my heat map. So we're bearish euros. I'm neutral pounds. I'll talk about that later, but I'm bearish CAD, which is really interesting, right? Because the Bank of Canada kept interest rate unchanged. And the Canadian dollar actually, the Bank of Canada rate decision, I think, was on Wednesday. The Canadian dollar actually rallied, but we're seeing signs of a bottom. The IVPMI report was not so good. The jobs report was okay. I think that, we could finally see a bit of a bottom in the Canadian dollar. I think that, we don't have too much data from Canada either this week. But I do believe that, we may be in a situation where, we may be in a situation where we actually begin to see a little bit of a bottom here. We'll have to see. I am bearish. I think that dollar CAD is deeply oversold. And if we're going to have a squeeze, I think that squeeze will probably be in dollar CAD more than anything else. We don't have much for the UK. UK data actually hasn't been that terrible. And the Bank of England has made it clear last week that they are in no rush to cut interest rates. And they're probably one of the more reluctant central banks to cut interest rates. I apologize. I stand corrected. We do have UK GDP and UK jobs report this week. So UK GDP is tomorrow. Sorry, UK jobs is tomorrow. And tomorrow, the market expects earnings growth to slow. They expect more people to file for unemployment benefits, and they expect the unemployment rate to rise. And then on Wednesday, we could have stronger US data, which is pound negative. And then Thursday, market's also looking for GDP numbers to fall, which is pound negative. So think about it. Market's looking for a weaker jobs report on Tuesday, stronger US CPI on Wednesday, and weaker GDP numbers for UK on Thursday. So it sounds like 3 potential days of pound negative news, right? Just going through the calendar, learn, prepare, and trade. And we're preparing by looking at the calendar. And we see tomorrow we might have negative UK data. Wednesday we may have positive US data. Thursday we may have negative UK data. Looks like pound wants to roll over a bit here. Lower highs, maybe lower lows. I think pound will fall. So that's, some neutral bearish pounds. Aussie really has nothing going on this week. And, I think they were on holiday yesterday. So really nothing going on from Australia with Chinese inflation data, which is a little weaker. This is purely going to trade on the market's appetite for US dollars. So that, is very important as well. New Zealand has PMI numbers at the end of the week. So that is also, New Zealand, they're expected to cut interest rates again at the next meeting. So I think this is getting a little overbought. I think it could pull down, but New Zealand PMI is not until Thursday. So the front of the week will all be about tariff headlines as well as US inflation data. So, that's basically, the dollar is oversold. Everything is overstretched against the dollar. And it's all pretty much about US events this week, either US-China tariff headlines or US CPI. So this makes it even more important to focus on the headlines and focus on the dollar, because that and risk appetite will determine how everything else trades this week. And once again, just kind of looking through the calendar, and I see some questions coming through. Does China not affect Aussie? So tariffs may affect Aussie dollar. Yeah, absolutely. If we have some positive China tariff headlines, that could be lift the Aussie a little bit. But really, it's more, I think that, while it does affect Australia, not as much as affects the dollar in the near term. Sounds like Russia did a large drone attack. Yeah, yes, but for some, people are still looking for, another response and see how the tensions between Ukraine and Russia play out. So as I said, we had some Asia data last night, not a huge market mover. Germany and France and Switzerland are on holiday today, so that's why the markets are also quite quiet. Tonight, we have business confidence from Australia and consumer confidence. These are not huge market movers, but they've been quite informative for other releases. And then we have UK jobs number, which is already talked about how they're expected to be weaker. Some minor data from other countries. Wednesday's the big release, red for big release. US inflation data expected to be stronger. Nothing really Wednesday night. Thursday, we have UK GDP numbers, which are expected to be negative. Industrial production is expected to continue to fall. US PPI, which, usually is less interesting after we've got CPI, but the jobless claims report could be quite interesting because the last one saw a big jump and people were really nervous. Last week was the highest level we've seen in jobless claims since October. So this will make this week's jobless claims report quite important. And then we have New Zealand business PMI. And then on Friday, we have the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. And that's pretty much it. So once again, tariff headlines, and even though U.S.-China trade talks are today, tariff headlines can be throughout the week. U.S. inflation data, those are the two main focus. So that's really, the main focus this week. Any questions? Boris is here for live trading. So, we're going to roll into live trading, but hopefully you feel more prepared for this new trading week. Any questions? You want to say hello, Boris?
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Hi. Very excited to be with you guys. Yes, my last day from Florida. I'll be back in New York tomorrow. Going to have a full scope, but my mobile setup seems to be working. I got my mobile screen on the left, my trading screen on the right.
How large is your mobile screen? Is it like an iPad size or is it like a full screen size?
Yeah, no, it's basically like a little bit larger than an iPad size, but
does it have a kickstand or is it like
it's literally like a horizontal version of an iPad, just a little bit wider with a little bit of a kickstand stand. It weighs maybe 3 pounds. I'm literally able to take my portable camera, my portable laptop, and my portable screen with me anywhere I go. So very excited.
Is it compatible to Mac?
Yes, it's compatible to anything.
You'll have to send that to me, Boris.
Yes, I will send you the Amazon link so you could have it.
Yeah. It sounds very nice and compact, which I like.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. And Kay's right. We've been kind of very, very quiet. Let me just share my screen with you guys here. Just 1 second. Let me just make sure I get this right. I'm gonna do this. No, entire screen. I think we're gonna go to this one. Share. Cool. You guys should be able to see the wealth charts. So very exciting news. You guys traded with me on Friday. Wealth Charts now has the fully complete latest version of the BFF scalper indicator, which means that we literally now have the full ability to be able to trade from screen with the execution platform on the right in a browser-based format, just sort of like the easiest way for us to run scalper. Also, I just saw that Apex went to 80% discount again on their discount. As a matter of fact, let me just put the link in here in the thing, and I'll put the QR code in just a minute once we get on the thing. But that's really great because we're going to be able to get a couple of more Wealth Charts accounts. I'm gonna walk you through how to buy a Wealth Chart account.
The 90%, the 80% now or 90%, Boris? I see 90%.
No, the link says 90%, but I think they're at 80% because I just haven't updated the link, so it's just not auto link.
Well, I think it's confusing. I'll just retype it.
Okay, I think it's 80%. But the bottom line is like the $25,000 account. I think we're gonna do it ourselves. I'm gonna take you live and show you the full discount with a BK saving. But I think it's can't be more than $35, which is just really great. Because the thing that I was going to show you is you can see on the bottom over here, we're super close at funding yet another account, right? This is $26,200. We just need $300 to fund this account and turn this account into yet another fully funded payout capable account. And the point that we're going to talk a little bit about today is should we be conservative? Should we be aggressive? The beautiful thing with having lots of the ability to buy multiple accounts, we can try to be both. We can trade one account very aggressively, one account very conservatively in terms of size, and see which way works best for us to be able to get to the funding round. And then once we get into the funding round, of course, all the sizing and all of the risk management changes greatly, and we get a lot more conservative. But that's the beauty of having great discounts, having the ability to be able to trade this, and most importantly, the beauty of having just a really clean, clear layout for our setups. Over the weekend, the other thing that I did is we put out our latest YouTube video. If you go to our channel, let me just actually take you there. If you go to our, just 1 sec, let me take you there to our YouTube channel. Let me see if I can pull you up this video. I take you through this one, the 3 steps to doing $1,000, and I'll go through the. I'll actually, let me just put the link in here into the video so you guys are not. Here we go. Here's the link. This video that I created. Sorry, I just have to running ads in front of this video. Actually takes you step by step to talk about the philosophy of literally how, how we trade in the room every single day. And it talks about the idea of how I trade trend and continuity and slope. So it's a very, very nice video. And within the video, if you go down here into the comments into the description section, you can actually download the step-by-step PDF guide totally for free. So feel free to take a look at this video if you haven't yet, and feel free to obviously click this link to download my PDF guide, my rule set guide to to everything that's going on. So I thought that would be interesting for you guys to do, and definitely enjoy it, because it for those of you people who are new to the room, or everybody who's hanging out and not quite sure, hey, what is it, Boris, that you do? This really takes you step by step to explain to you the philosophy behind high probability, very, very high accuracy trading that we try and do in the room every single day. To that effect, what's going on in the markets now and how things are going on, let me actually just bear with me. I'm going to put the right layout, because Kay has left us. Thank you, Kay, for all of her help. So I think this is the one we want to do. Put this layout on here, and I want, just bear with me, I want to go into this one. Okay, now you got me on the right side. You got me on the right thing. So yes, here's the you can also QR the code if you want. You can totally QR the code off the screen. Those of you guys who are on X right now, who are watching me on X, just QR the code, get that big discount on Apex, get a couple of accounts. What time is it now? It's 9:22. Actually, in about 2-3 minutes, I'm just gonna buy another account to show you exactly how cheap and easy it is to buy the accounts, so you guys are not, you know exactly what to do when you get involved. In the meantime, just from a price structure, what's really going on? The other cool thing, by the way, just why one of the reasons that wealth charts is going to be so nice for us to trade. You know how we used to always have to switch, and it was really, really hard to trade gold and Nasdaq at the same time, because we had to switch charts and switch accounts and all that kind of stuff. Now it's super easy, because I set up two. As a matter of fact, I have a trade setting up right now. Perfect. I set up two tabs. So one tab is Nasdaq, fully preset. So like literally, if this trade sets up, all I got to do is hit the buy button, the stops, the targets, everything is all set up. And as you can see, the visuals are all correct. In this particular case, by the way, that we're looking at the trade right now, we have positive trend. Blue is above the red. We have positive momentum with green dots, and we have positive slope with the latest green dot being visibly higher than this dot. So we're waiting for the candle to close. We've got 30 seconds left. We'll watch this. If this holds, and it's got to hold, if the pattern holds, we'll trade that to the long side on Nasdaq. And the other cool thing is, obviously everything is all set up here on the wealth chart. So the account number, the setup, everything is all allocated. I don't have to do anything but hit the buy button. Just like in the other tab, I have to do nothing but hit the buy button to trade the gold account. So 3, 2, 1, buy. We're long here. Target is 1850. Let's see if this trade works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's 5 minutes before the open. Markets are very, very choppy, but this is a pattern, and it's a legit pattern. So we'll take the pattern and see if it completes itself for us for the time being. And in the meantime, if you look at the gold side, the pattern is actually negative. It's choppy but negative bias. The short-term moving average is below the long-term moving average. It's red selling, but we don't have a trade, because the trade, actually, I made this trade at this point over here. I made this trade at this point over here because this was the setup that we had. We went from green to red over here. As a matter of fact, I think I can actually, bear with me, I can go to global chart settings, turn history on, just to show you. Yeah, and you can see, like, you can really see a little bit on my chart here. This was the short entry, the two negative red dots, boom, that was the clean pattern. Now, I don't chase. There are traders that we'll try to keep the next red dot and next red, next red. I don't do that because obviously you're going to come to a point of diminishing returns where you're going to hit the bottom and just simply get yourself stopped out. So I pace myself by literally only taking the transition trades from green dots to red dots, from red dots to green dots when they set up. This modulates my, my trade selection to just maybe one trade every 15, 20 minutes instead of one trade every 5, 10 minutes. And it also just keeps you, I think, much more in just mental control. But you can certainly do it any way you like. The point is that you have to have the best possible trade price structure set up for the highest probability setup. That's really all it is. So I'm going to take the where we turn history off. Turn this history off. And let me just take you guys to, let me see. Can we get my layout? Yes. Joe is very, very kind. Joe says that video is the strategy that funded his 25K account. As a matter of fact, I got to tell you, we had a whole bunch of people Thursday, Friday, like I think 6 or 7 people in various account sizes and various stages that got themselves funded off that strategy. So that's why I invite you to watch that video. It's a really, really good video. I'll make another video that even will go into greater detail about some of the aspects of that strategy. But as a foundational idea of I want to day trade with a high probability setup in a trend-based mode, that's sort of my foundational idea for you guys. BFF is my foundation of how we trade. So, feel free to go out there and watch the video, download the PDF, join our group. Of course, you get much greater discussion and much greater description of it. For those of you who are looking, this is another thing I was going to talk to you about. For those of you who are looking for longer term, more directional, more positional trades, the BFF indicator that you see here in wealth charts, which by the way comes to you totally free when you open up a wealth charts account, when you buy an Apex wealth charts account, will enable it for you within 24 to 48 hours, has 4 other embedded strategies in it, all of which you can watch for free in my day trading course when you join. And again, let me just get rid of the join link is QR'd over here in the side. So the join link is QR'd on the bottom. The discount link is QR'd on the side. Just simply take the QR code of either one of them and go ahead and knock yourselves out. But what I was going to say is, because we're going to be able to open up, I'm going to open up like probably 3 or 4 more additional wealth charts accounts because the discounts are so cheap, and we'll start incorporating more positional trade ideas, not just the scalping. I mean, I know I do scalping with you guys every day, all day long, and it's a lot of fun. But there are a lot of people who are thirsty for more positional ideas that I haven't really had a chance to disclose because we've been waiting to finish up the software to really, make sure the software has the full functionality we need. And we'll do that as well. We'll trade more positional ideas, maybe one idea per live session that's positionally active for us in these situations. So there'll be a lot more coming up in future lives for those people that are looking not just for scalp ideas, which of course, I am known as Mr. Scalper, but those that are looking for more, let's say, 20 points, 30 points, 50-point type of duration trades that where you do one trade a day and you try to bank $500-600 off that one trade a day. That those sort of ideas will also be available. So it's a lot of exciting stuff going on here in terms of all of that stuff going on. See, Joe says he funded another 50 account, and then Ali says he funded account. So it's really, really nice. Asoki wants my layout, right? You want my layout? Let me just do this for you. I'm going to go in here. Let me see, layout menu. I want to go export layout, copy, and I'm going to send this over here. So, this is obviously me trying to do this on my mobile stuff, but I just copied you. I exported my layout. So you are, you're welcome to do it. Obviously, the key thing is you have to have BFF enabled on your platform. You won't be able to use this layout until the BFF is enabled on your platform, and that's going to be a function of you signing up for wealth charts. Which, by the way, let's do this right now. Let's going to go to Apex. We're going to just buy another $25,000 account, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to log in. See, I am so confident, hopefully in Chrome and Google Pay, that I'm actually going to disclose to you all of my, not all of my, but my credit card information, and hopefully you won't see all of it, so you can't do this. So what I did here is, you see me, I went to the dashboard, I chose wealth charts. I went to wealth charts, I chose 25,000. That's, my preferred account. You can buy any account the size you like, right? The most important part is, if you don't use the word BK Save, you won't get the discount. So if you say BK Save, then you get the real big discount. And I don't even know how much it is now, so I'm gonna do it with you right now. Let's see what the number is. So it's only less than 30 bucks. It's really ridiculously cheap. It's less than 30 bucks to buy this new account. So I'm just gonna, give you my Chase Sapphire. Oh, you guys actually do see my number. Oh, that's really bad. Okay, that's really, really bad. Okay, no problem. I will, hopefully nobody will clone my number. I didn't realize you guys actually do see my number. All right. I may have to change my credit card number after this video, because I really don't want to be disclosing that. But you guys get the idea. You get the idea. I just, I'm hoping that everybody here is a decent human being, but it doesn't matter. I think I'm going to have to. I just realized I am going to have to. I didn't realize you guys actually can see the number on this thing. So, but it is what it is. NASDAQ is just really, really ripping up and down here. And it looks like I got stopped on this one particular trade because it was market open. So it's fine. I will, the beautiful thing is, as I said, first of all, we're not that far away from getting funded. We lost 400, but we can try to get it back through the rest of the day, or we can be super aggressive and try to get it back in one single trade if we get the setup. So that's just par for the course. I knew this was going to be possibly a dangerous trade because we're trading right in front of the market open when you have a lot of chop. But it hurt me without really killing me, which is all I really care about. And now I can decide whether I want to do it slowly. That is, gather the P&L slowly and put myself back to target, or try to gather myself fast and get myself close to target and see if I can get this account funded fast. Regardless of how we do it, there's a lot of flexibility for us on this thing. We just simply need to delete. We just have to wait for the next order setup to go. Tom says Christmas comes early. Yeah. Okay. Well, no problem. I will. I actually, the irony of the whole thing is, the credit card that you guys see up there, the card itself is physically damaged because I'm in Florida and one of the dogs chewed up my card. So, I needed to replace the card anyways. So no, go ahead. I will hope that nobody's going to use my my credit card number. And also, Chase Manhattan is usually very good at finding fraud. So I've sacrificed myself so you guys can actually see how to buy the accounts. But go ahead and see how fast it was. Now I have a brand new account totally set up here, right? Like 102 account. See how fast that was to set that up? It took no time at all. And now you have another account you can play with, work with, and try to work towards the funding account. Speaking of funding, by the way, we have lots of funded accounts, right? So the funded accounts are on, if I go into Tradebate, they're on the Tradebate platform. And I'll just show it to you so you guys can actually see them. So we have 1, 2. Let me see how many we have here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 7 Tradeabates, and we're trying to go maybe for 3 wealth charts. That means we'll have 10 funded accounts, which will then all work towards getting funded and getting paid out. That's going to be the game plan for us. For now, as I'm looking at the charts here, not much really, on the plate. We have still positive trend, but negative momentum. Dots are red, kind of breaking the 200 SMA. Slope is negative slope. So, nothing for us to do because we don't have like a triple confirmation. We can just simply watch this carefully. And Kevin says, ignore that trip to Tahiti on the card. I will. I will. We'll just wait patiently to see what the next setup is for us. Gold is also in a contra setup mode. What I mean by that is, oh no, gold might actually hang on. So what do we have here? I'm looking for a red dot here. Why is this? Is the red dot? It's hard to see in this particular setup. It's a red dot. Just in this unit, yeah, it is a red dot. So gold over here. Now gold, by the way, is traded on the second account. And what you see here is I'm actually trading gold in a micro gold fashion, instead of the full account. Because this is going to be a little bit, so I'm going to nurse this one in a little bit more conservative fashion. I'm going to trade 2 micro lots instead of a 1 mini lot. Just make $20 trades on this. And the target here is to see if we can get maybe about $100 a day in a slow fashion of getting this account funded instead of like 2 or 3 days. Get this account funded maybe in like a month's or 2-3 weeks worth of time. If I'm trading on a micro account, the advantage of that is, first of all, I'm obviously going to control my risk immensely more so. I'm never going to be in danger of getting margined out, but and I will have the opportunity to kind of resolve any losing trades very quickly. So if I'm doing 2 micro lots, right, as a starting position, and I get stopped out, the next trade I can trade with 1 mini lot, still nowhere near, putting me into a kind of a margin position. But if I win on the mini lot, that whole trade gets completely recouped. Right now, I have 9 seconds left. We're just going to do. It's going to be a sell condition. Trend is negative, slope is negative, momentum is negative. I'm selling. So now I'm short on the micro lot with a target. It's hard to see this. 30.8 is my target. 30.8 is my target on this position, and we'll see if the gold cooperates. But as you can see, it's a much smaller risk trade by doing it so much smaller size. So we can let it breathe here. In the meantime, we can go back to NASDAQ and see if anything's going. So NASDAQ is really starting to turn negative, right? It's really starting to turn negative, and this is where it gets interesting, because NASDAQ might be a situation where we could have in the next 3 or 4 candles, a negative setup for us. And then it's going to be an interesting moment. Maybe we'll, maybe what we'll do is, so Ricardo, I just shared the layout on the trading platform. But what I'm going to do, honestly, the easiest way for everybody to get the layout is in my day trading course, which is completely free for anybody who joins us, right? I'm going to add a chapter, and within that chapter, I will put a link to the chapter is going to be called Wealth Charts Layout. Within that chapter, I'll actually put the link that you can import, and when you import that link, it will import the layout. The critical thing is you absolutely have to buy the Wealth Charts platform, like I just told you to. And if you buy it, you send me a notice that you bought it. I'll enable the BFF indicator for you, and you'll be able to have the layout and the indicator all at once. Just make it super easy as far as structure goes. So here's what I want to do. This could be actually a lot of fun today. Let's see. Since it's Monday, we might as well have a good time. I'm going to put a poll up here, and this is you guys are going to determine if I go full on. Should I trade 4 minis and risk losing account, or 1 mini and recover slowly. That's what we're going to do. That's the choices. You guys are going to determine. The next setup on NASDAQ is, do we take the big risk or the small risk on this one? But the one thing I will make sure is we're going to take a true setup. I'm not going to rush the setup either way, just to give us the highest probability of success regardless, which may not happen for next 20-30 minutes. We'll have to see how much time. I'm going to be only with you guys for another 20-30 minutes because I got to hop on a plane back to New York, but hopefully we'll get a play out of it. In the meantime, gold, today, Monday, Chop City, it's really, gold is this is one of the reasons why I decided to go small gold. You see how you see how choppy gold is? It sort of like gave me the signal and then it just completely retraced out. And I think I'm stopped out on gold. But fortunately, that's a micro trade, and I can recover the trade on the next setup quite easily. So one of the great advantages of trading small is that you can recover your losses very quickly and then move on and try to get the P&L built up again. When you're trading large, you got to be, it's kind of a win or die situation, as always, is in almost any situation. Meantime, nothing here. We're not even close to any kind of a signal in gold, so we just simply abandoned it. It's very, very choppy trade this Monday. You could tell the whole night there really wasn't much direction in the markets as we kind of just treading water. So all the more reason to be kind of careful here. And look what's happening in NASDAQ. We teased the downside, and now we're kind of looking to the upside. One way for sure that you're sort of in a very productive environment is when the moving averages do not diverge at all. They're kind of very close together. Like here, you could have made money, and then boom, it just sort of died out. This isn't really a horrendous structure for our setup, but it's not obviously the perfect one. The perfect one is when we have the shorter term moving average starts to move up or move down conclusively. Then you have a much greater ability. Oh, look at this. You guys are all such wimps. You're all like telling me do 1 mini and recover slowly, but it's fine. I will choose what you guys choose. We're gonna wait until we get the setup going, and I will choose what you guys choose for that on it, and we'll go from there. Let's see what you guys have in the content. Some of you guys are asking me, are we trading in 3-dot setup? We're not. No. That's just for for our private sessions. I'm trading very, very classic trend setups in this motion. And then as the week progresses, maybe even tomorrow, I'll start to expose more directional trades with you guys because of all the built-in functionality in Scalper that we haven't really explored. But for today, I really want to make sure that you guys at least grab a couple of well charts accounts so you have them on your books. The moment you buy them, email me. I'm actually going to create tomorrow a special form that you'll be able to fill out telling me, hey, I bought the well charts account. If you once we have that form, it's going to be much easier for us to quickly enable the BFF scalper on well charts and get that going for you. So nothing much going on over here. Gold is also not really doing anything. We're just victims of chop for the time being, and we'll just start looking for the idea. I'm looking at the 44 to 56. It's interesting. Wow, I'm really surprised. I thought there'd be a lot more cowboys here, but you guys are really, good risk management advice. So I will do a single trade on NASDAQ with you guys if I get the setup. So what's going on right now? Actually, we have negative trend in NASDAQ, but nothing setting up yet, right? What we need to do is for us to really have a NASDAQ trade, we need a green dot and then 2 red dots in order to be able to trade it properly. Or conversely, when we break to the upside, we need a red dot followed by 2 green dots. This may take a while because we're clearly in chop city. It may take 15-20 minutes to see, for us to get the next layout. As far as gold goes, gold is just really murder on any continuity signals, because gold is basically trading negative trend and then just dying right then and there. This trade worked. This trade did not. It just simply stopped cold and now racing back up. It's pretty clear that markets today don't have much directionality. There's not really. Let me see if there's anything really, really going on in the news. If I go into the headlines, just trying to read. No, it's just you guys, I'm sure, have seen the riots in LA over the weekend. None of it really is having any kind of impact on stocks. There's just, there's really isn't any economic news that's it's kind of moving the market. So we're in a very, very chop city structure here. Yeah, that's exactly it. Nathan says there's no news. Dennis Taylor says, do you have to belong? Yes. Where am I? Yes, you have to belong to my group to get the BFF scalper. So pretty quiet. Really, wow, look how tight the range is. They just went back to no range whatsoever. Right? Really very lame. Anybody trade overnight today? Yes, somebody's saying they sign up for. If you sign up for 8cap, Lee, you need to email me with your deposit information, and then I'll be able to. I'll be happy to set it up for you. Let me find you. Yes. Yes. Just simply, if you sign up for 8cap, that's one of the great ways of doing it. Just send me the information. That's great. That's great. That's great. I'm glad you guys are all signing up. Yes. So really good. I'm glad you guys are seeing it. All right. So what are we looking at here on NAS? Negative trend, positive momentum, right? Are we going to turn? This is one of those really interesting setups that could be happening for us. So this candle closes. The next candle, if it's positive, I think, we're going to watch this very, very carefully. The next candle, if it's positive, What I mean by that is like, it's if it's a green dot, it would be both positive momentum and positive trend, because I think the blue is going to curl around the red. If it, I guess sort of like if we get up to maybe about 810 or so, and that will put us into the buy mode. Now, since you guys voted for me to be a wimp and not to bet everything on black, we're gonna trade just one mini account here if it sets up. So the big if here. What I really needed in order for it to set up, I need the green dot to hold, basically. And we've got 59 seconds. I'm watching this very carefully on the charts. We'll see if the green dot can hold. 50 seconds. Sort of, I think, like, honestly, if we're like around 808, 809, should provide us with enough opportunity. Not really not a very, very market right now, but we've been in this situation many times before where it's just chop until about 10 o'clock, and then from 10 to 11 we get a really, really beautiful run, lots of opportunities. So we'll see. Let me just flip over to gold to see if anything is going on in gold here. Gold is doing nothing of any value for us. All right, so we are 11 seconds, kind of a legit. I mean, it's kind of a legit. I'm willing to do this on a 101 lot because the blue is still below the red, so it's sort of legit, but sort of not. Okay, let's go long here. Let's see if this trade takes us. The target is 1575. So I'm in at 1075, 1575 on the trade. Let's see if we can make it. We're looking for just a small bit of continuity to give us the play here. 1375, 1575. We're done. Good. So see, you guys, I could have been back to like $200 to target. You made me trade conservatively, but that's fine. I'm glad you guys did, because honestly, this was a very problematic setup. I mean, it was, we made money, but it clearly wasn't like this perfectly beautiful hard. It was like a 80% probability instead of like 95% confidence probability setup. So putting everything on black in this one would have been a little bit more problematic. But it doesn't matter. We're still in good shape. We're only like $500 from getting funded in this account. The account has been more than preserved. I got the whole day in front of me. I don't know how much trading I'm going to be able to do, but even if I put one or two trades here, I might be able to get close to getting funded. As far as gold goes, nothing. We have to be very, very patient. And by the way, you noticed I was going to say that the other thing that's really, really cool is with this kind of a layout, right? With this layout, this actually, let me show you how cool this is. So I'm going to close this up. Again, don't forget here's my YouTube video that I'm going to post up here. But here's what I was going to say to you, because we have multiple accounts, right, that we can trade. That's so useful to us. What I'm going to go here, duplicate. I'm just duplicating my wealth charts layout. But here's the really, really cool part. I'm going to choose the last account I chose, which I think is the 101. No, I had what? Don't I have the 102? Wait, what happened to my? Hold on. 102. Why don't I have the 102 in here? That's interesting. No. Oh, that's weird. Maybe because leave. All right. Maybe I was getting too cute here. Let's just do it this way. Let's just do another wealth charts login. I'm gonna log in because what I want to show you. Here's the 102. Yeah, it's probably cash. I knew. The only issue with browsers, you're always gonna have cash. So here is my NASDAQ account. Here's my gold account. Now here's the really cool part. We're gonna go right here, right? We're gonna choose the 102 account, And I'm gonna show you really what I trade in my funded account. The instrument that I love to trade in my funded account is actually the S&P. And we're gonna do that's just 4 ticks against 16 ticks right over here, right? 4 ticks against 16 ticks. And all I gotta do to enable this thing is to choose ESM mini Junes, right? And now I'm literally set up to trade the S&P if I want to. So S&P is actually a little bit interesting for us. And the whole point is now we have three trade ideas that we can look at every single day aside on the scalp side, because now we have these layouts that are beautifully laid out, right? And we don't have to, I don't have to in the background jump from one to the other in order to execute the trade. The execution is literally off the browser. So what I was going to say is we're looking here at S&P. S&P actually has a legitimate potential for us to trade a short setup if I get a red dot. Now I need a red dot because what's happening here is we're negative trend, negative momentum, but not negative slope. So I need a red dot here. And that gives us, like, I actually love the S&P as a not as volatile, but very liquid, and has the continuity and really responds well to my scalp setup instrument for my funded accounts. That's what I primarily trade in my funded accounts. So this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to trade all of this stuff. Ryan, what does Jamaica mean? Ryan just pinged me a Jamaica move, but I don't know what that means. Anyways, tomorrow I will have a little link, like a very simple name, email address. I bought wealth charts form, and every one of you is going to be able to fill that out, and that's going to make it so much more efficient for us to be able to enable you within 24 hours to 48 hours. For those of you who don't have wealth charts, BFF enabled. For those of you who have it, of course, it's great. Now look at this. We got 16, 17 seconds. We may actually have a setup, and that's the other great thing is sometimes the S&P. This setup is not really beautiful. This is really not a great setup, but I'll do it with you guys. I'll do it with you guys just because I want to, I'll play the game with you. So the target here on this particular setup, I just went short on it, is where's my target? It's 605, and that's going to be problematic. We'll see if it comes in, but 605 is a target. So the reason why this wasn't a perfect setup, and I not necessarily would have taken it, but I want to show you trades while we're together, is because this was not negative slope. You see, it was two red dots, but it really wasn't negative slope. It really wasn't the perfect setup to take, but it was kind of like a neighborhood play, and it went all the way down to 25.25. It went 3/4 of a point in my direction, but not quite the way, not quite the movement that I want. So I will I may pay the price for not choosing the perfect setup, but that is the game today. It's just the game today is just not great setups on Monday. Matter of fact, if you look at Nasdaq, right, and it turned itself around. We actually took this positive one. Now Nasdaq had, but Nasdaq is positive. It is positive, positive trend. So that's sort of interesting. So we have a little bit of a diversion. That also gives us obviously multiple opportunities to create setups. In the meantime, going back to S&P, I'm looking for that 25. Did I get done? No, not quite. What's my limit? It's 605. Sorry, this thing is really stretching out. It went went 3/4 of a way my direction, but not quite 605. Boom, I think we got done. Boom, dropped like a stone. You guys saw that. That finally, P&L'd me on the S&P. Now, what I was going to say is, if you were a purist although, Jesus, man, I got to say, today's price action is just, just torments you. What I was going to say is if you were a purist, you probably would have waited for this candle and you would have probably gotten stopped out now on a massive retrace on this thing. You kind of got a little bit lucky on this trade because the market environment is just so incredibly choppy that there's very little continuity that we have in these setups today, which is, it happens. It's actually very, very good for us to be mindful of all of this because we know Monday, market not having any movement, not giving us any direction, is probably a low probability trade to trade. Look at NASDAQ. Short, long. Was there a news? Was there a 10 o'clock news or something? There's a 10:01. It looks like it was actually a spike. I may have. I didn't realize. Was there any news? What news was there? Let me go to trading view charts. I don't have trading view charts on today with you guys, but I will tomorrow. Let me go back on here and let me see. Was there news? Inflation expert? Oh, I don't even see anything. It's interesting. Yeah, Rick is telling me this second red dot is higher. Yeah, we got lucky on that second red dot. I just took the trade. Now we can watch the NASDAQ setup, and we're nowhere near a setup because we need a green dot and a second green dot to give us confidence that there is a positive slope. But at least we are, if that's the case, what that will signal to us is that the market decides that they want to have a little bit of an uptrend. Right now, the market just has no trend whatsoever. You can see we're just literally dipping up and down above the 200 SMA line and chopping everybody up left and right. This is the fade trader's delight. And one of the interesting things about this that you can find very amusing is this is a trend-based setup, but if you have a perverse mind and a belief that this kind of very, very lackluster price action is going to persist for a little while, you could actually take the reverse of these signals. So in other words, every red becomes a buy, every green becomes a sell, and you then are able to convert to a positive P&L. That's the idea of having like multiple accounts. You can just have one account where I'm just going to go Mr. Contrary and go completely against my setup, and that account builds up nicely in this type of environment. So the key thing is to always adapt to what the market is giving you by having a very, very flexible setup that can work both ways. We generally always want to trade trend because trend is the dominant move in the market between the market open at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, New York time, as people decide which way they want to push prices. It's very rare that you have prices trading in 20-point range. Like it's maybe 2 days out of 10. But in those 2 days out of 10, when you have that situation, you can easily allocate one account to completely contrary, to be merry, quite contrary type of situation. All right, gold. I'm watching gold here in its sclerotic form here. It finally turned positive on trend, nowhere near where we need in terms of momentum and slope. But at least, we have step one of 3 of our check marks setting up. So we'll watch this very carefully. Remember, on gold, we had a micro trade. So we're going to resolve it with a mini trade. And hopefully, if we get a setup, the mini trade will repair and wash away all of this nonsense. So we'll see how it trades out. I don't take half off. No. Will we ever see? Kathy trades FOREX It's a good question. Kathy trades Forex in our VIP group. So if you want to join our VIP group, she doesn't trade it on YouTube. She trades it privately in our group, so you can always see her doing that. That's the advantage of joining us on a VIP basis. Okay, good. At least gold is finally giving us first green dot. We're going to wait for a second green dot in gold. See if we can get a setup here. This assumes that the green dot holds. In the meantime, looking at NAS also giving us first green dot. We want to see second green dot on NASDAQ to set up, and S&P flounders, still continues to flounder. You know what's interesting about the S&P? I'm actually curious. If I went short this one, this was, let me get rid of this. 550. How high did it go? 925. So I would have survived the stop. Did it go to 450? Yeah. Wow. This is really interesting. So even if I was very, very cautious and I took this trade, I would have had a lot of heat on this trade, but I would have made money. I would have still made money sticking to my strategy. It's one of the reasons why I really do like the S&P as an instrument, because it really trades well for us. In the meantime, no dots, nothing going on here, guys. And I have a gun against my head because I got to go to the airport. So tomorrow, back in New York City, back to the full force on my trading stuff. I'll try to get set up the link so that everybody can automatically input their name and email address for what I call for wealth charts enabled BFF structures. And in the meantime, go out there, get a couple of Apex accounts, please, so that you're ready tomorrow to trade lots of different variations of the theme with me, because I'll definitely be giving you lots of different variations. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Really a lot of fun. Everybody have a great, great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. We'll hopefully get a little bit of trend action as a day. Don't despair. This happens a lot of times. The first hour is just chop, and then all of a sudden we get a nice, beautiful trend up or down, and that's where all the money is made. So just hang out, see if we can get any continuity as the day goes by. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.